Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I am far from being a student. My daughter is 14, my son is 11, and I also have a third one who's just turned a year old last week. My name is Sausan Moyeen. I am the CEO and founder of Enchanted Events and Prints. I'm also, I studied architecture. I also have a restaurant called Oplay, and I have an architectural firm called AISD. I just want to ask you guys, like, have you ever tried putting your hand on one of your eyes like this? Have you tried? Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. You can see, right? You can see, but you can't see. You can see, but you can't see. So that's what I felt that day. Back in 2011, it was an August summer afternoon, and I was giving a bath to my then one-year-old son. And suddenly, like within a spark, everything changed. And the way I perceive life changed for me from then on. Literally, the way I saw things changed, because I became partially blinded on that day. Even though I couldn't see at that moment, I still continued with the bath. You know, that's what we do. We put our mothers. As mothers, we always put ourselves last. I finished the task in hand, and then I went on to find out what was wrong with me. What happened on that day was a clot was traveling while I was giving my son a bath, and I suffered a stroke. Yes, you heard it right. I suffered a stroke without even feeling anything. One moment I was fine, the next moment I was partially blinded, and till this day I am partially blinded. But how can that happen? I mean, I didn't feel anything, and I was, 28? Like, why? Why would it happen to me? It happens to people, like older people with diabetes and all that. I mean, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't even drink tea. Why would it happen to me? But it did. Anyways, they couldn't find out what was wrong with me, and at the time I was also expecting with my third child. But we had to, I'm sharing a very personal story today for the first time. We actually lost the baby, and they also told me that I could never be a mother again. You know, in your 20s, it's a little hard for me, but in your 20s, you're always in a race, you know. Everything has to be according to a timeline, according to people's norms. You know, you're always running. It's like a race. You need to study, you need to graduate, you need to get married, you need to have children. And while you're doing all that, you forget to actually enjoy the little things in life. I forgot to enjoy my children because I thought, okay, I'm gonna have like a couple of more. And everything feels like a duty, right? So you feel like you're having a child and you're doing everything. Everything is you're doing. You order the food, you order everything, you take care of them, but it's like, it feels like a duty. When I found out that, you know, I will not be able to be a mother again, I just realized that maybe I should have taken some time and, you know, to smell the roses. But then again, I came back, and one phone call in September, a little over a month after I had my stroke, kind of gave a constructive turn to my life. And you know, this person had called me because she had attended a party that I had done. My son had turned a year old like a couple of months back, just a month back, and I had done that event. And she told me that, would you help me with my niece's event? And I was like, yeah, sure. But she had no idea that I suffered a stroke, right? So she called me and she said, you know, will you help me out? And was I going to tell her that I had a stroke? Was anyone going to hire someone who just had a stroke a few weeks back? I didn't tell her. I just hid that information and leapt on that offer. I did that event, I took it up, and my family completely supported me. And they just said, just do whatever rocks your boat. And once I did that event, there was no turning back. That was my first event, and this was 11 years back. And today, Enchanted has done almost 4,000 events. Actually, over 4,000 events. Had it not been for the pandemic, we probably would have done more. Now, why was this rush? Like, why was I getting so many events? Mind you, those were not the days of social media. Social media was still not there. So everything that you saw and everything was only word of mouth. But why we started doing a little bit more differently is because the norm of those days were people used to come to your houses. I'm sure you've had weddings or like most of you are young, but a lot of people had weddings or parties, and you'll remember they used to come with an album, or they would come with a laptop, and you had to select anything and everything that was there in their inventory or their collection, and you had to do that. So every Tom, Dick, and Harry had the same kind of events. What I did differently, because I was a housewife, and because I had no collection, I started doing my own sketches, and I started building my own events, and I started seeing it from my architectural perspective. So every event was like an architectural project where I wouldn't repeat anything. All I had was my architectural knowledge and mediocre sketch qualities. That's all I had. I started from an 8 by 10 square foot shared storeroom, and I didn't have, with my success, because it was quite like within 2-3 years we were doing hundreds of events. So everyone started giving in advices. You should hire people, you should get more bus, you should get more transport, you should get more people. But I didn't have confidence. Like the esteemed member just told you that you should believe in yourself. At that time I didn't. Maybe I was not confident enough. And I didn't want investment from anyone, because I don't know, what if it didn't do well? I just wanted to go with the flow. So we did that, and I started my children's school van became my transportation bus, like I said, and my cook, who was assisting me, would sometimes act as my manager, sometimes as a storekeeper, and sometimes even my bodyguard. Totally multi talented. Anyways, things were quite hunky-dory from then on, but 3 years later it happened again. Another day when I was in a meeting, suddenly I lost all movements to my right hand and became completely blind. Completely. But thank God at that time this was just momentary. What I suffered that day is known as TIA, a transient ischemic attack, or a mini stroke. So this mini stroke actually is the part where it doesn't leave that kind of impact. Like, I'm partially blind, but this is just a momentary thing. So I was like, what is happening? I mean, why does it keep happening? Why does it keep going to my eye? There must be something. And for 2 years, everything I earned was going into medical checkups because I didn't want to have more strokes. They didn't have an answer. But finally they had a diagnosis, and they told me that I had a hole in my heart. A diagnosis. I mean, I was so happy. I was so happy. I was elated. You know why I was elated? Because of that hole in my heart? Because now they could fix me. They would fix me and I would live. I wouldn't drop dead on my children. I had that life to live. I wanted to do much more. So after my corrective surgery, I thought everything was going to be fine. I came back to work, and with new zeal, I started hiring more people. More people, as in like people who would make baskets, like floral baskets in the roadside markets and everything. And I started hiring them. I started doing enter social media era. And Enchanted was the first page in Bangladesh for event management. We started marketing our events in a different way, where every event told its own story. We started hiring artisans, almost 100 to 200 artisans every single day from every part of the country. We started using local materials, thoughtful local materials like block prints, local materials like cotton, local materials like local flowers, because our flowers are beautiful. Once these farmers, they used to grow vegetables. Now these farmers grow flowers. They proudly grow flowers because we're single-handedly boosting use of local flowers in our events. And you know what? Do you wonder what happens to these flowers? I'm going to tell you in a bit. Anyway, so I thought everything was fine, and we were doing so well. We were getting so many awards, and we were getting so much of recognition, like thousands of events. But then I got a call. And then they said that now you have another thing. You have a rare congenital disorder. A rare congenital disorder called protein S deficiency. Now, what this one does, I know it's a bit too much of information, but what this does is it's a rare blood disorder which happens in every 500,000 people, and I'm one of them. It has no cure. And what it does is like it just thickens your blood and it sends a clot to your system. So, if you have diabetes in your family, you might get diabetes, I might get a stroke. Just like that. So, there's no cure for it, and they said, okay, you have to be on medication all your life, but we don't know how long you live. It could be 15 years, 20 years, whatever. I wasn't gonna let that define me. I'm not gonna let anyone look at me with pity, so I hid it. Yes, I hid it. I didn't tell any of my clients about this, because who would hire an event planner who was partially blind and had the worst congenital diseases? I was practically known as the blind girl with the heart disease at the hospitals I went to. I didn't want to be defined by that. So I hid behind my events. I worked doubly harder. I worked and I worked and I worked until I got anxiety disorder. Yes, because I worked so hard. And then I realized that, I wasn't just working. I was working because I was trying to hide behind my work. And that made me realize that you have to accept yourself. Only once that I accepted myself, I could come out of that anxiety. And I've never spoken about my anxiety disorder because on the outside, it's all perfect. Why wouldn't I be happy? I was on the top. I was doing the largest and the most lavish weddings in Bangladesh. I had the most perfect children. Why wouldn't I be happy? But I still had anxiety disorder because I was hiding it from everyone. So a couple of years back, I decided to speak about it. And this moment I started owning what I am, it all fell together. I started doing better. And wedding market is a niche market. And a wedding market is a very expensive niche market. Not everyone has a taste for it. And you would think it's so expensive. Why would you want to spend so much? Jen does that too for like 2-3 hours. Is it actually that? No. To curate a wedding that we do, the kind of scale that we do, it takes us months to prepare for it. We draw up 3Ds, we draw up drawings, we draw up concepts, and then we curate, we source everything by hand because it's all personalized. And then to do that, we hire 100 to 200 people on a daily basis. We hire all these local artisans, local people. And if your wedding, your dream wedding, can contribute so much to the economy, so much to the livelihood of these 200 or 300 people's family, I want to be a part of it. Now, coming back to the point about the flowers, do you remember I said that what happens to these flowers? Yes, what we introduced in Enchanted was sustainable weddings. How we did that was, number one, of course with the client's permission, we actually took those flowers and had them sold in a second-hand market because a lot of people cannot afford the freshest flowers because they're very expensive. So they sold it in a second-hand market, and these workers who come from very, very poor families, they actually get the benefit from that. The second option is, of course, if you don't want to donate that, you can actually have them made in bouquets and send them out to your families. Enchanted is also the only company, Bangladeshi company, to do 5 international events. We have won many awards. I have personally been awarded many, many times, but we are also the only wedding company to be featured in world's #1 wedding magazine, Wed World, and also Wedlocks and Wedded Wonderland. What happened after 5 years, after 9 years or 11 years? It's the whole impact is remarkable. Because remember the flower guy who I hired 9 years back? You know what he does now? He is now the operation manager. He himself heads teams of 100 or 200 people per day, per event. And during the wedding season, we have events every single day, sometimes 2 every day. We don't have time to bathe, we don't get time to eat, all because of our commitment. If we get the luxury of bathing one day, that's a huge luxury. I have broken my foot, got in a cast, gone back to work, because that's what commitment means to me. And after such a long time, after such a thing, because I believed, last year I was able to conceive. I had no fertility issues, but I accidentally conceived and I was able to go through with my pregnancy. And I'm now a proud mother of a 1-year-old yet again. My son Ammar is the proof that if you believe, anything can happen. You know, in 9 years, 10 years, medical science has evolved that much that a person like me, who the doctors had told that, you know, if you ever have a baby, you're going to die. That has changed. Every day science evolves so that people like me can stand here and give you stories of hope. I really want to request you all to study science, please, to find answer for people like me. To find some, because I believe that it will change. Someday, they might find a cure for me, they might not. Because I'm okay. I'm fine. My experiences, my stories are what makes me me. I might be bullied because I couldn't catch up. I remember, I get nightmares because, I had my congenital heart disease. And when you're younger, you need to play tag or you need to do everything. And I remember running with all my might, trying to catch up with someone. And I couldn't. It's okay. At that time, you probably don't realize that it's okay. But now I do. That experience has made me who I am. Every experience, every failure makes you who you are. Own up to it. Own it, flaunt it, but be humble. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.